Blockcast. I'm Steve Bartle, Utah Insider, KSL Sports. Good to be with you on a Tuesday. On this episode, we're going to be breaking down the comments from Kyle Whittingham's press conference on Monday. We're also going to be running through a few comments from Utah's offensive side media availability on Monday as well. We heard from Devin Dampier, Wayshawn Parker, and wide receiver coach Micah Simon. So going to be running through some comments on this one, and then also going to be sharing some thoughts on Alex Jensen and the Running Utes. They've played 3 games. They're 3-0, and I think we're starting to get an idea of what this Running Utes team is going to be this season. So going to share some thoughts there and that, but let's get into it with Kyle Whittingham's press conference on Monday. Obviously getting out of the bye week and getting back into the swing of things with Baylor this weekend, Utah getting back into practice and all of that sort of stuff. And so we heard from Kyle Whittingham on Monday at his weekly press conference outside of bye weeks, obviously. But it's pretty clear where the focus is. And with everything going on, now that we're into the month of November, we're already to November 11th, which is crazy. It's just flying by. There's a lot going on, obviously, with the college football playoff ranking, with the Big 12 title race, a lot of things to be mindful of, for mostly for us fans, but for Utah and Coach Whittingham, it's pretty clear where their focus was and is and will remain the rest of the way. It's going to be on that week's opponent, and that's it. And so he was asked, about that, right? About where Utah is at currently with their ranking, number 13 in the college football playoff ranking, with where they're at in the conference race, being 7-2 on the season, 5-2 on or 4-2 on in conference play. There's certainly a lot of things to keep tabs on for Utah, but again, their focus is strictly on Baylor.
Our thinking is we're really focused on Baylor right now, and we just know that we don't have any margin for error. We understand that, and so I think it was a nice show of respect for our program from the committee to rank us where we were ranked. But again, we got to take things one week at a time, and that's exactly what we're doing this week. And not to, not have a better answer for you, but that's just how we're handling it.
All right, so there you have it, Coach Whittingham. Again, I think he put it pretty simply. There's no room, there's no margin for error. And obviously with Utah and what they've done this season, dropping 2 important games, one against Tech and one against BYU. Yeah, there is no margin for error. Utah's got to run the table. And Devin Dampier echoed as much, that they've got to win out. And they know that, but they're going to take it 1 week at a time. And so, that's going to be the focus for Utah, taking it week by week. And that started, a long time ago, right? That's always been the mindset for Kyle Whittingham. But I think it's really important with where we're at in the season for them to maintain that sort of focus. And, with this, right, getting into the final month of the season, we know what Utah is all about. They're all about running the ball. And Whittingham, made clear that Wayshawn Parker has emerged as running back 1. That's been something that I think was not breaking news to anybody. Wayshawn has been fantastic over the last 2 games, and he's really starting to hit his stride. And what's been really impressive is obviously the explosive element that he brings to the running game, the big playability. He ripped off the 39-yard touchdown against Cincinnati, and he's been pretty consistent at ripping off a couple big runs every game. And I think part of that too is the emergence of Daniel Bray and what he's been able to add with his speed and his big playability as well. So the run game continues to evolve and hit its stride. But I think, for Utah to really hit its ceiling as an offense, they're going to need that passing game to evolve as well over this final month. Ryan Davis has been fantastic all season long. You can pencil him in for a handful of catches each and every week. He's got the chemistry with Dampier. They've got it working all season long. I think he's top 5 in a number of receiving categories, even after the bye week still, and has just been really fantastic. But Utah is going to need someone else, 2 others, 3 others even, to emerge over these final 3 games as Baylor, Kansas State, Kansas prepare for these contests. You know that they're going to try and take away what Utah does best. Let's run the ball. Let's get the ball to Ryan Davis. Let's get the ball to Dallin Bentley. And so, you're going to have to find a second or third option. And I think what was interesting about that Cincinnati game is, Creed Whittemore out of nowhere, he steps onto the field. First opportunity, runs a little fade route into the end zone, target, incompletion. But later on in the game, he on the field again, his second play of the game, another target, reception, and breaks a couple tackles and gets into the end zone. And I thought that was really interesting. Obviously, we've talked about Creed throughout the season, and I think a lot of people have been wondering where he's been and that. And if you pay close attention to me on Twitter or in in these live streams or in these episodes in the Twitter Spaces, we've talked about it. Whittemore didn't have the best fall camp, and Coach Whittingham talked about it, I think, in the post-game press conference after Cincinnati, that there were ball security issues. And from what I learned going back to September, is those ball security issues were pretty bad. It was really, really bad. So combination of different things, drops, fumbles, that sort of thing. So just when you talk about players and what they need to do to see reps on the field, it's earn the trust of coaches, right? They've got to trust that you can go out and execute what you're going to be asked to execute. And for Creed, unfortunately, after fall camp, that trust was gone. And I think this is sort of the process for players. And I think Creed deserves a ton of credit for sticking with it. It would have been very easy for him, others to pack up shop and call it quits. And he stuck with it. He stuck it out. And I think, he deserves a lot of credit for doing just that. We had the opportunity on Monday night to talk to wide receiver coach Micah Simon, and I asked him about what it says about Creed that he stuck with it. So let's get to that. Got into the end zone against Cincinnati. Can you talk to, I guess, sort of the mental toughness and the commitment to stick it out that those 2 players have shown over the last couple months?
Yeah, it's been awesome to see. There was a stretch there where I was only playing a handful of guys, and they took all the snaps, and they stuck with it in practice and continued to work, continued to gain my trust, Coach Beck's trust, Coach Whitt's trust, and were ready when their number was called. I mean, two plays, 2 targets, and one of them caught it and made 4 guys miss and scored a touchdown. So it's huge for him, and I think a confidence boost for him as well. And love the way he's been practicing. So looking forward to the next few weeks.
So there you hear it from Micah Simon. And again, I think in today's age, that sort of story, that sort of willingness to stick it out, right, to continue to show up each and every day, that's the kind of story that I think fans appreciate more so now than ever before, or should at least appreciate more now than ever before. And I think Creed, with the way that he was able to capitalize on those 2 plays by getting into the end zone, I think you could tell that Micah Simon is looking forward to seeing him on the field a little bit more. He's earned the trust of coaches, and I think this is just part of the process for some guys. Is not everything is going to be handed to you. Not everything is going to go according to plan. There is going to be adversity. Is going to be moments where you're going to have to battle back. And I think for Creed Whittemore, again, just a big round of applause for him for what he's been able to do, sticking it out, showing up each and every day at practice, and just working his tail off to get back into the mix. that says a lot about who he is. And I think we're all kind of looking forward to, his role potentially expanding over these final 3 games. And the other player, I asked I asked Coach Simon. There were 2 players that have kind of emerged over the last couple of weeks. That being Creed Whittemore and Larry Simmons. And I think Larry Simmons also deserves credit for continuing to show up and practice and do the things that he needs to earn those reps. So that needs to continue for Utah as they get into the final stretch of the season. Obviously, the run game, that's the bread and butter for Utah with what they're doing with Wayshawn, Daniel Bray, Devin Dampier, whoever is at quarterback, really, whether it be Dampier, whether it be Bird, that run game is just really efficient running behind that offensive line. But Utah is still going to need the passing game to not just complement the run game, but take advantage of opportunities that open up because of the emphasis put on by opponents to stop the run. So that's going to be really key for Utah over these final 3 games. And I think you're starting to see some players. I think we're seeing players start to benefit from the work that they've put in this season. So hopefully that continues for Creed. Again, I think a lot of fans were excited to see him get that opportunity, and the fact that he was able to capitalize on it as well. That was pretty significant. Let's shift gears now and let's talk a little Alex Jensen and the running Utes. All right. To start, first want to hit on Utah basketball picking up a commitment from junior college forward Zati Lubaki, who plays for Trinity Valley Community College, which is actually the reigning junior college champion, national champion. And Lubaki actually had a really played a pretty big role for Trinity Valley last season. He was actually named the MVP of the NJCAA tournament. That was a lot of words, a lot of letters there. Too many letters. But no, Lubaki is this is a pretty interesting commitment for Utah to pick up. And I think one that is actually really encouraging once you dive into Lubaki's background. Now, he's a 6'9" forward. He has a 7'2" wingspan and has a 35-inch vertical. So he's, a versatile for athletic forward, great size, great length. He's a legit 6'9". And what's interesting, I reached out to his coach at Trinity Valley, and he is a academic All-American at the JC level. He's won awards for his service in the community there at Trinity Valley. He's done a lot to really kind of all the things that you don't typically hear with kids from the JC level, right? You always hear about you gotta coach the JC out of these guys. There's a lot of I don't, there's usually a lot of baggage, a lot of concerns, a lot of issues, academic issues. That's not the case with Lubaki. He's got, again, like I said, an academic All-American at the JC level, just and really does a lot there for Trinity Valley. So again, I think this is a great pickup for Utah, a great addition. Adding another forward, another versatile forward, you're kind of starting to see the vision with what Jensen wants. He wants versatility. He wants guys that can switch and defend multiple positions. Lubaki, he's capable of scoring inside in the post. He's got a little post-up game. He's got a little mid-range jumper. He converted over 31% of his three-point attempts as well. And again, like I said, great physical traits with a 7'2" wingspan, a 35-inch vertical. Those are the types of things that you want to see in terms of the athleticism, the size. That's what Utah needs more of on this roster. So a big time addition from that sense. And I think given his experience and his background, he's got experience in the overtime elite, which is, OTE, that league where Utah's kind of dipped into quite a bit over the last couple months. He's got international experience playing for France and the I think the U18 team out there as well. And, going back to the junior college tournament, Lubaki was named the MVP, averaging 15 points and 5 rebounds per game in that tournament. And what his coach shared with me was that Lubaki really stepped up in crunch time. When his team needed plays to be made, it was Lubaki making the plays, whether it be a block or a steal, taking a charge, grabbing a rebound, knocking down a key shot. He was typically the guy that did it for Trinity Valley last year. So, his coach said a lot of really positive things about him and sort of the player that he is and can be. And I think for Utah, it's a pretty significant addition to add to this class and add to the future roster for Utah moving forward. Now, with the team currently playing, Utah just knocked off Holy Cross on Monday night, 87-69, to improve to 3-0. And what's been interesting watching this team, through these first 3 games, it's pretty clear that Utah's they've got some more talent. They've got some more offensive firepower, guys that are capable of scoring. Terrence Brown has just been unstoppable getting to the rim. Don McHenry has knocked down a number of key shots. He can knock down from 3. He can drive the lane. He can get to the rim. He can finish through contact, which has been really impressive. That honestly has probably been the most impressive thing about Terrence Brown and Don McHenry is the fact that they have been able to finish at the rim as efficiently as they have. I wrote down in my notes, Terrence Brown might be the best finisher that we've seen at Utah in quite some time. Through these first 3 games, at least, he's been really impressive. So, with this team, I think, again, it's really important to keep in mind that this team is not at full strength. They are down. They've been down Elijah Moore the last 2 games. They've been without James Okonkwo through the first 3 games. He'll be available Saturday against Sam Houston State. And then Ibi Traore has been working his way back into getting cleared. He suffered a season-ending injury just before the season started last year. And when you talk about Okonkwo and Ibi Traore, those are 2 guys that, they're not huge. They're 6'8", they're 6'9", but they've got a good wingspan and they've got great athleticism. They can get off the floor, they can contest, and I think adding those 2 to this front court is really, I don't want to say it's going to solve all the problems because it's not, but it's going to help Utah because currently I think the biggest issue right now is Utah's defensive lack of defensive presence along the interior within, inside, where they're just not contesting. They're not defending. They don't have a big that can contest. And I think Keanu Dawes having to play up a position, though it's a lot of fun and intriguing on the offensive side of the ball, it's clear that he's not fully comfortable defending as a 5 just yet. And so getting him back to maybe more of his natural position, whether it be the 4, whether it be the 3, I think is going to really help him as well. And adding Traore and Okonkwo back will allow him to do that a little bit more, which I think will benefit just the overall feel of this team. Right now, again, guys have been I'm really struggling today. Guys have I'm so struggling today. It's awful. Keanu Dawes, Seydou Traore, they've been needing to play up a position. I think getting them back into their more natural positions, the 4, 3, I think is going to really help them as well. It'll help Utah's rebounding issues as well. And I think that's kind of been the biggest concern. Now, there are concerns beyond that, right? Beyond the interior defense and rebounding. Utah did do a better job against Holy Cross. They ended plus 12 on the rebounds. And finished at the rim at a much greater clip, 19-26, I believe they finished. But they're going to have to step it up on the perimeter with their on-ball defense as well. Again, as impressive as Terrence Brown and Don McHenry have been on the offensive side of the ball, those 2 in particular are going to really need to up their on-ball pressure as Utah starts to face increased competition. That's going to be key. And Alex Jensen said it best that, they've got to be the first to make contact. They've got to hit first. They've got to punch first. I shouldn't say punch first, not literally, but metaphorically. Um, these guys are going to have to make contact first. They're going to have to bump guys off their spots, and that's going to be really key for Utah. And with um, the lack of size inside, it's defensive pressure is going to be key. So have been really impressed with a couple of individuals. Josh Hayes has really surprised. He's got some talent, he's got some skill inside, but he is going to have to add a lot of strength before he can be counted on, especially as Utah gets into conference play. If he can somehow add, 5 pounds between now and January, man, that would do wonders for him, I think. But he's really got to add a lot of core strength because right now he's defending with his hands a lot and he's getting called for a lot of tic-tac fouls inside where he's just kind of using his forearm, using his hands to shove guys a little bit. But if he can somehow increase his core strength between now and in conference play, I think he could be somebody. And there's obviously, you watch him in the post, there's some skill there where he can post up. He's got a little jump hook. He can finish. And I think, if he can improve there, that would really help him out as well. I think the biggest surprise though has been Kendall Sanders and what he's been able to add. As somebody that was kind of a late find, a post grad type of kid, and a late addition from the high school ranks at IMG Academy. He's really come in and has shown that he can hoop a little bit. He can knock down a corner. He's really kind of shown that he's a corner specialist where he can knock down a three from the corner pretty consistently. He can get to the rim a little bit. He's got decent size at 6'7", 6'8", and I think he's starting to emerge as somebody that will likely be in the rotation as the competition increases. So he's been a nice find and a pretty interesting emergence. I think a couple keys for Utah as well will be Don McHenry and Jacob Patrick and their ability to knock down shots off catch and shoot situations. With Terrence Brown, with the way that he attacks the rim and his ability to get into the paint, to get those paint touches and forcing defenses to rotate to help. And I think that's going to create opportunities for those two in particular. And they've got to become really, really efficient at knocking down those shots when those opportunities arise. And through the first 3 games, they've been fairly efficient. Jacob Patrick, I think, has been the more efficient of the two. Don McHenry, I think he finished 2 of 7 last night from 3-point range. He's got to he's got to be closer to 40%. But if those two can continue to knock shots down at least an efficient rate, 35% and up, where they have gravity, I think that's going to help Utah out a lot. But again, big things here, getting Okonkwo and Traore back to help the interior defense, improvement, from McHenry and Patrick as catch and shoot type of guys, and then just continued development from everybody around them. And I think this is important to keep in mind too, that again, this is a complete tear it down to the studs type of rebuild. And this is a long process. Alex Jensen has taken the long-term view. And I think it's important to keep that in mind that, the coaching, the development, that's going to take time. That's going to take a lot of moments. A lot of teaching moments are going to take place between now and the end of the season. And so, yeah, I think everybody kind of understands where this team is. It's a team that will be pesky, but I think this team that is going to play an entertaining brand of ball at the very least, at least right now. We'll see. We'll see once the competition increases. It could get pretty dicey, but for now, the offense is a lot of fun to watch. It's a modern brand of basketball. They move the ball really well. There's intent. There's an understanding of the goal, of the purpose, of what they're trying to do on that end of the floor. But defensively, Utah has to make significant strides on that end of the floor. They're going to have to move their feet. They're going to have to defend with physicality and toughness. But there's some encouraging signs, but also some concerns. So overall, about what to expect from this Utah squad. It's obviously a team that has a long ways to go, and I think as long as we maintain that perspective, that's been the point of emphasis from Coach Jensen. I think it'll make this season a little bit easier to watch. All right, that'll do it for me on this episode. I apologize. Have a lot going on still here at the Bartle household. We're trying to finish up the basement. Had people coming in, flooring specialists, all that type of stuff. So pretty soon I'll be in a new area of the house, recording from there. Excited for that. But I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, supporting the Blockcast. Like I said, we'll be back throughout the week, breaking down the matchup between Utah and Baylor. That's going to be a really important one and a fun one. Should be a fun one for Utah. So we'll be back at it tomorrow with some more Utah Blockcast content. Like I said, appreciate everybody, and we'll be back at it tomorrow.